Hey folks, thanks heaps for tuning into our podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today. My name is Bridgid and I'm an English teacher at UnifyHub. We recently launched a podcast to interview our diverse range of teachers, and now I have the privilege of hosting our latest podcast, which dives into the English journeys and lives of our students. In each episode, we will invite one of our English language learners as a guest speaker to chat about their life and experiences through the lens of English. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to brush up on your listening and vocabulary skills while getting to know more about our students and their unique paths to mastering English. So sit back, relax, and let these stories of language learning inspire you to embark on or continue your own language learning adventure. So, are you ready to meet our first guest? Vika, do you want to break the ice with our listeners and say a little bit about yourself?
Hi Bridget, hi everyone. My name is Vika or Victoria, and I'm an HR business partner at Cyprus. I've been learning English, it feels like my whole life, and I still feel every time I speak that I have a room for improvement, so I think it's an ongoing challenge, an ongoing journey of learning English.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about where you're living right now?
I live in Cyprus. I relocated here a couple of years ago, 2 years exactly, actually. We relocated together with my company and a lot of our colleagues. So right now I live in Nicosia, and I'm pretty lucky because almost everything that you need to do in Cyprus you can do in English, so we don't really have to learn any other languages like Greek, although I know a lot of my colleagues are learning Greek as well.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to ask you. Now that you're living in Cyprus, how much do you need to use English in your personal life and in your job?
So in my personal life, as I mentioned, almost everything is in English or in Russian. We are quite lucky because Limassol is pretty much a part of Russia, it feels like, because we have so many Russian-speaking people living here that you sometimes can go to the shop and speak in your native language without any needs to learn Greek or English. In terms of all the proper things to do, like banks and hospitals and other things like this, I usually use English. I've started learning Greek, but to be honest, I found it very confusing when learning new language when you're an adult, so I quit it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and in terms of work, I use English every day, and I've been using English every day for the past 4 years. I work in a company because I have a lot of international teams, and which are located in all parts of the globe. So it's been an everyday experience for me.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I'm also in Cyprus at the moment, and yes, obviously as a native English speaker, there's no problems. I can use English absolutely everywhere I go, and I can see.
It's awesome.
So easy for me here, which is not necessarily a good thing. It can be good to learn another language. So can you share... Sorry, Vika.
Yeah, I personally find it confusing because when I went to Spain and nobody or not a lot of people spoke English, that was a little uncomfortable for me. So here, when you can go everywhere and everyone, even like a super old guy, will speak okay English, probably not perfect, but in general you can understand. It's awesome. It's just such a comfortable experience. So yeah.
You're saying that's very comfortable, but have you had any funny examples of miscommunication with English in not necessarily Cyprus, but anywhere? Because I think you travel with your work as well.
Mm-hmm. I actually thought of when I first thought of this question, I kind of didn't have anything in mind. But later on, I remembered something, and now I forgot as well. I'm sorry. This is the reality of working and having a podcast in the middle of the working day. Sorry.
No worries. Maybe you'll think of it as we go through.
Yeah. I remembered something that was interesting, but it just slipped through my head. But I find that I think when I started learning English, I was a lot more uncomfortable speaking it. So whenever I would speak English to anybody, I would have a lot of different mistakes and will feel awkward because of that. But then as you go through actually speaking English to people, it becomes less and less a problem, I guess. It becomes less of a problem, yeah. And if I come up with an example, I'll share it. Sorry.
Thank you. I think what you're saying there is really important, and for our listeners to think about that confidence and not worrying about mistakes is key if you really want to keep going with your English language learning and using of it, because you just have to do it. Yeah, so that's fantastic. Thinking a little bit more about your career, what inspired you to pursue your current career? And did you expect to be working in English, I guess, using English all the time?
To be honest, not really. My mom is actually an HR, but for a very small company back in Russia. So it was kind of a joke that I just followed her footsteps. But I didn't expect to end up here. I mean, in general, in HR. I think it was like a lucky coincidence that my brother, he used to work in one company and I got an internship there. So I've started working there and it just kind of become a thing. And I'm still here in IT working as HR for 6 years already, just because of random circumstances. I didn't expect to end up here, and in general, I didn't think that I would ever work in English. Of course, when you learn English, it's kind of obvious that you will use it at some point. But I always thought that it's gonna be, whilst traveling, whilst meeting new people, and not actually for work.
So you told us that you relocated to Cyprus 2 years ago. So I just want to ask you a few questions about relocation, adapting to a new country, using English more, food, culture, all of those things. Can you just tell us a few things that you love about living here in Cyprus?
I think I'm just very grateful for the opportunity that when we had to relocate and when the situation got super weird in general in the world and specifically between Russia and Ukraine, that Cyprus became a place where I could live. So I know a lot of things that I don't like here, but I definitely feel very grateful for the opportunity to live here and live a comfortable life as well. As I mentioned, with English, with in general where I live and how I live, I'm super grateful for that part. In terms of what I like here, I definitely like the opportunity to go to the mountains and swim in the sea in the same day. It's just awesome that it's so close to everything, and it doesn't matter where you are in the island. It's kind of everything is super close, and the weather is also you've been here the last week. It's been 46. It's crazy. But what I like is that we do definitely have a lot of sun, which is nice. It could be a little bit chillier, I feel like personally, but I cannot choose. The weather, the closeness of everything. Sometimes people, we have nice people as well. Sometimes food, sometimes something else will be the thing that I enjoy in Cyprus.
Okay. And you mentioned there's some things you don't like, but what's one thing that you found or have found difficult to adapt to here?
Lack of infrastructure and city vibe in general. I used to live in St. Petersburg, and it was like a proper city with metros, with trams, with buses and other things. And here we are definitely way behind in terms of the infrastructure for people and overall like a feeling of the big city.
Yeah. Do you know how big is Nicosia? That's where you live.
In terms of population, No, to be honest, I didn't check, but I think it's in terms of the city, it's the biggest one in Cyprus. It is the capital. It feels a lot more like a proper city. We have, some infrastructure there, but I didn't Google how many people live there because it just never crossed my mind.
And what is one tip that you would give anyone who is about to relocate or change countries, not necessarily to Cyprus, but just about relocating or changing countries?
I think it's important to check everything that you possibly can about this country or city that you're moving into, just so your expectations are where they should be. So you don't have high expectations and then you're disappointed. With Cyprus, for example, whenever I have a family or a friend coming, I always say that expect the lowest possible, lowest. The lower your expectation, the better it will be at the end, basically. Because when you say, hey, it's a huge village, it's not even like, it doesn't have infrastructure and so on, and people expect it to be very, very poor and, I don't know, not very well developed, and then they come and they see all the things that we have, they're so blown away and happy. So, it works when you're coming here for vacation, but in general, I think the more prepared you are for how things work and what is there, what is not there, and so on, the easier the adaptation will be.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what's worked for me coming here. I think people have well and truly prepared me for the lower expectations. So for me, it's been fantastic.
Yeah. But I feel like we can ask you this question because you travel so much, Bridgid, that you definitely have the probably the tips on how to choose the country where to move.
I think because I don't live as such, I'm only in a place for 2 to 3 months. The things that maybe are difficult to adapt to for people who are moving permanently are less of a concern for me because I don't have to worry about red tape and bureaucracy and paperwork.
Yeah.
And I think really that's one of the hardest things for people who move country, and I don't have to worry about that. I can just benefit from the positives, I think.
Yeah, well, we are very lucky because, for example, with relocation with Semrush, everything was on the company, so we didn't have to think much about where to go to and how to process our documents and things like that. So this part was covered. Thank God, because it is, as you mentioned, like a huge thing to think about when you're moving countries, and luckily we just had to think about other things and not this one.
And I want to come back to your English language learning and using English. Are you studying English at the moment or now just using it?
No, not at the moment. I used to have classes, I think, like 6 months ago, before the work became a little bit more crazy. But as for right now, I'm mostly just using it for work and watching something and listening to something. That way I keep up with my language, I think, okay. But that previously when I wanted to study English, it was more to study accents rather than study grammar and other things.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that later. But so you said you like watching, reading. So can you give us some recommendations? What are you currently or just have recently been watching, reading, listening, or maybe playing in English?
I think in general, what helped me learn English better and what I do to this day is just watching a lot of stuff on YouTube. I personally find it super interesting because you can watch different people with different accents, with different vocabulary, and with different, lives basically. So you can get a lot of information about different cultures, different countries, and also different words that people use. I think when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of YouTube videos, and that's how I learned things like things people use for makeup, because this is not a part of your school education. You don't know how mascara is called, and not in your native language, but in English and so on. So that stuff I definitely covered by watching YouTube. And to this day, I still watch a lot of YouTube, different people there, different types of videos and so on. I also sometimes watch different TV shows. Right now I'm watching Bridgerton's, but yeah, I think we discussed it. It's like a very easy, nice read, and it's nice watch, and it is about the UK that I adore. So it's all it ticks all the boxes for me. And sometimes, yeah, I read some books, but I don't have any specific recommendations for that. Just whatever I need for work or for relaxation, I'll just read.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to finish up with a quick lightning round. So I'm going to ask you 10 rapid fire questions, and you just say the first thing that comes to mind. You're on Cyprus. Favorite Cypriot dish?
I would say moussaka. It's like lasagna, but with vegetables.
Fantastic. Favorite idiom, expression, or word in English? One that you think you use a lot?
Oh, well, that could be different, because when you say one of my favorite words or expression, I would say I like the sound of the word cozy. I feel like it's very cozy indeed. Yeah. And in terms of the fun word that I like is it's from the Mary Poppins, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I love it. When I saw it first, I was like, what the hell? How can you possibly say it? And then when you learn it, it's just such a blast to use it and show off, basically.
Yeah. It's amazing how we can remember it.
Yeah.
Dream vacation spot?
Probably Edinburgh. I wanted to go there for a while, and I still do, and hopefully one day I'll be able to actually visit.
Oh, it's an amazing city, yes. Yeah. Morning or night person?
Unfortunately, night. I would rather be a morning person, because everything in Cyprus is open from 7 a.m. till like midday. So I'd rather be a morning person here, but in general I think I get more energetic and creative at night.
Okay. Favorite movie?
I would say that I don't really have one. I like the Harry Potter series. That is something that I can rewatch billions of times. But yeah, I wouldn't choose one.
One of them, the whole series?
No, yeah, everything. You have to watch it back to back the whole day.
And what's a skill you've always wanted to learn but haven't had the chance to yet, but you're still thinking about it?
I sometimes think about starting running. To me, it's still... I still do not understand how people do it and how they enjoy running for like 10 kilometers straight. This is like this sounds like a torture to me, but I see so many people who are happy running that I feel like I'm missing out, and I don't understand the actual value it brings to people and why they're so happy. So sometimes I'm thinking about starting running, but I don't, because I don't know, I don't have time and energy to do that.
I completely understand. I think ever since I was a teenager, I always wanted to be a runner, but somehow it's just never happened.
Yeah, it's just hard. That it's something that I think like, all right, in January I'll probably start. And in Cyprus I have a great excuse, because it's plus 40 throughout the whole summer, so I have no idea how I can run in that condition. And then later on I just forget about this.
Yeah. Most inspiring person in your life?
Once again, I don't think I have one. I usually it's something that the person does that can inspire me, and I can get easily inspired by my friends and people who I am surrounded with. I sometimes get inspired by you, Bridgid, because you travel so easily from country to country. This is mind-blowing to me. I wish I could do that. Sometimes it could be some of my friends that achieve something that I'll be like, wow, this is so great. I wish I could do that, or I want to do it now as well. So yeah, it could be different people in my life.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because, yeah, it's more the things that people do rather than a person in general. What's coming back to work, what's your go-to productivity hack?
I think I'm pretty boring because all of my answers to your questions are like, oh, I don't have one specific one. Yeah, I feel like in general, I think I have that undiagnosed ADHD, because sometimes I can be super productive and I can sit down and go through everything that I need to do in one sitting. And sometimes I even schedule like time in my calendar saying you need to do this, and I totally skip through this because of other priorities and things. So different things work for me, but for me what works okay, I would say, not perfectly, but okay, is having like an actual notebook where I write down things, because everything is online, everything is in my calendar, but this feeling of me writing it down and then checking it off because I did it is still something that kind of motivates me to do it. So
I'm 100% with you there. I can have everything online, but I need a notebook with everything as well.
For sure.
I think I know the answer to the next one, but the listeners don't. British or American accent?
British 100%. I, as I mentioned already previously, I had classes with the person from the UK, Tony. I'm not sure if you're listening to it, but hi. So I had to ask a specific person to speak to me in British English, just because all of my colleagues, or most of my colleagues, they have American accent, and I get so tired by the end of the day that I really want to listen to something that is not American. So I also like different parts of the UK, and that's why, like, out of every accent in the UK, I do have my favorites as well.
Oh, what's your favorite? Here's an extra question.
Most likely Scottish. This is the one that I like the most. But then everything else, like Essex, it's awesome. All the TV shows, like it's just the delight of it. And then I like Scouse. I don't. It's a weird one for me, but the sound of it is just so funny.
Can you explain to the listeners who might not know what Scouse is?
Oh, so. Yeah, I won't be able to recreate it for sure, but the main thing that I've noticed is that they use kh sound instead of k, so it would be buch and breakfast and things like that. And it's just, for me, it's hilarious because you never know what will come out of their mouths when they're speaking.
For those listening, Scouse accent is from Liverpool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to finish us off, Vika, what are you dreaming about right now?
Right now, probably drinks by the sea that we're about to have later this evening, Bridgid. So this is something that makes me happy right now.
Excellent, thank you. So yes, as Vika said, we're actually going to get a chance to meet in reality, in real time, in a few hours. So thank you very much for taking part in this, being our first guest. Sorry, Vika.
Yeah, I remembered the miscommunication thing that I thought of. So I've been to the UK a couple of times, and one time I went there. My ex-boyfriend lived there, so we went to the bar together. And in South West, it's super common to call each other love, which nobody told me about. So imagine my shock when we just arrived in a random bar, and the bartender, who was a woman as well, she was like speaking to my boyfriend. She was like, "What should I get you, love?" And I was like, "What the hell? Like, why is she calling you love? Are you familiar? Like, do you know her? What's going on?" And then I realized that people don't care who they're talking to. It could be the first person you see, like you see them for the first time, and they would still call each other love. And I found it so cute at the end, but at first it was definitely kind of weird. Yeah. But I think I even saw one actor. He mentioned that he knows he's at home when he's leaving the train, and he hears people call each other love, and that's how he understands that he made it home.
Oh, that's lovely. That's a nice story.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. You remembered just in time.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is what happens with me.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, thank you very much, and thanks to Vika, and we hope to bring you another student sometime soon, and let us know what you think. Thank you.